Hey guys, my name is Vinit Patil. I'm with Ribbon, the hybrid trade show platform. And we started Ribbon about 3 years ago. Initially, it was SKU Wholesale, which was a platform for emerging designers to get leads from retailers all across San Francisco and the West Coast. After the pandemic, trade show companies wanted to get all their exhibitors online and create marketplaces so that they could increase the business from the 3 days to all year round. So it's been quite successful. We started with Shop Object and now we're up to about 6 or 7 trade shows.
So hi, my name is Jimmy MacDonald. I'm the founder of the London Design Fair. I started my career as an interior designer and I married a product designer. And between us, we decided to launch a new trade fair into the London market back in 2007. It started as an event very much for our peers at the time. It grew into the largest interiors trade fair during the London Design Festival with 550 exhibitors from 27 countries. And we would have about 30,000 visitors in 4 days. And then in 2018, I sold the London Design Fair to a US media group. And since then, I've been consulting to massive international trade fair organizers like Fiera Milano. And I launched a big fair for them called Find Design Fair Asia into Singapore in 2023. I've been consulting to other trade fair groups like Maison and Objet. So I know obviously how it is to run a show, but I'm getting an inside look at how all the big organizing groups are approaching the creation and the kind of upscaling and changing of their existing trade fairs portfolio. So I'm having a good time.
I'm JP. I'm Jonathan Plotzker-Kelly. I own the skincare company Heliotrope based in San Francisco. We've been in business for about 13 years. It started as a way for me in a very selfish manner. I wanted products that did not use any synthetic perfumes or colors. And at the time, it was very difficult to do that in the market. I put together a team of chemists and designers and web people who I'd worked with over the years. And I said, let's roll up our sleeves and put on a show. So I quickly developed a line of products that I'm very proud of. That's face care, body care. It grew to things like candles and soaps and such. And it only uses pure essential oils or nothing. So a lot of our product is fragrance free, which at the time we developed it was quite unusual in the market. You see more of it now because people are more aware. One of the things that we like to do in our stores with all of our fragrance-free products, we allow customers to customize them with any essential oils they like. So we have a whole aromatherapy bar and people can come up and say, oh, I love lavender and sage. And we're like, great. And 30 seconds later, we have a lavender and sage lotion for them or shower gel or shampoo. So we have our store, kind of a hybrid studio and retail location in Oakland, which is across the bay. I've got an online business that I've been doing since the very beginning. And believe it or not, wholesale is now our biggest channel, which has surprised me. That kind of happened during the pandemic. Even though you're in person, so much of it is still social media and it's still marketing online. In addition to some of the smaller wholesale shows, I do a lot of pop-ups and a lot of crafts fairs, which operationally is a very similar thing. I set up a booth, I market. There are organizers that you depend on to get people to come. The only difference is whether someone's buying 1 bar or 24 bars of soap. So really it's how much social marketing is being done. How much is the organizer getting people to come? And what is a constant is once they're there, how do you appeal to them to stop at your booth? Some things never changed. Retail stores have evolved certainly over the years, but it still comes down to what are you going to do to entice someone to walk into your store off the street? And how are you going to interact with them to make an appealing offering such that they'll make a purchase? And it's really the same in wholesale shows. How do you get people to walk in off the street, metaphorically? And what do you do to your booth to appeal to the wholesale buyers, retail shop owners and online shop owners? The more things change, the more things stay the same. And people do want to travel less. And I think the rise of the online shows has really changed the way people do business. I'm in a hybrid position. I get to also be a buyer in addition to being a wholesaler. So I get to experience it from both sides. And honestly, starting with the shutdown, but certainly As a dad in a family, I don't necessarily want to travel to the big shows. You couldn't get me to go back to New York now if you paid me. Let's say 2021, 2022, people were venturing out and wanting to experience things, but really on a very hyper-local business. Part of Heliotrope's model is we make everything locally. We're based locally. So for us, that localism plays in our favor because we're Bay Area based and we're part of a movement to rebuild manufacturing in the Bay Area since so much of it has been lost over the decades. Also, like going back to my experience at New York Now, I'll never forget row 8,000. There were like 3 rows of body care, skincare, personal care. And it was really so easy to get lost. Not only was there just the sheer volume of other companies that we were competing against, but there were some heavy hitter, deep pocket companies that were able to put together, mini stores. God only knows how many tens of thousands of dollars some of these companies were spending to create these experiential spaces for the retailers to be walking by. And that's something that a small company could never do. So it was really just the charm offensive to try to get people to stop. And what I find with these smaller shows is that it's easier to shine because it's more of a level playing field. It's like advertising online for skincare. There's no way I can compete with L'Oreal. It's really hard to compete in that space. And if you're in a trade show, those kinds of competitors are in your row, it's going to be that much more difficult. So I really enjoy the smaller market, the more you can have more one-on-one experiences with. You can befriend your competitors because you're kind of all in it together. Let's roll up our sleeves and do this together. It's a different kind of experience. I enjoy being part of a community, but for me, being in a smaller trade show, you're in a community with the competition, which sounds funny, but it really does feel that way to me. It's not like I'm going to sell a bar of soap and you're not. It's let's both sell bars of soap.
I think it's happening quite naturally, isn't it? Because if I was launching a new show today, I'd be very much going for independent brands with a voice, and then the super established brands that have like your bellwethers, you must have them type brands. I'd be skipping out the bit in the middle. I think there is a natural move to local manufacture. It's about a curated batch of brands and exhibitors and a highly niche and targeted audience. Scale is no longer the objective. It's quality across the board. We actually tried to do way back when with the London Design Fair. And the reason why it was purchased is because they wanted to blow the roof off the show and scale it to like 5,000 brands. But we always liked that sort of sweet spot where we knew that our visitors would genuinely enjoy meeting our exhibitors. The exhibitors want that sort of community feeling replicated online across your social media channels. Instead of just posting random stuff out there, we would hire like influencers and say, can you go at our exhibitor list from the perspective of your audience and select out your 10 favorite products for the forthcoming show, then push that out through their social media channels to their audience to try and get relevant people from their segment to then come and attend the show. So I think exhibitors really want a very much more intelligent way of approaching community building, both from exhibitors, co-exhibitors, and visitors. I think that's what they really want. Yeah.
If you were to start or restart the London Design Fair today, or what are the 3 things that you would do?
Yeah. So number one, I would not be aiming for scale. I'd be revisiting the approach to size. Key is to kind of bridge the gap between the editions of the shows. I don't think anything can now be just a 4-day event. If buyers aren't coming to the show, I want them to have a way to still engage and discover the brands that were at the show, because it might convince them that next time, actually, you know what, I kind of wish I did go. Or I would like to meet the founder-led brands that I'm now discovering online. And I think if you could deliver that as an organizer for your exhibitors, they'd be pretty happy. you know.
Mm-hmm.
During the pandemic, it was kind of the online piece was a desperate attempt to replace the show. And I think we've moved towards the point where the digital is the supporting act, the long tail. It now supports the face-to-face event rather than replicating it. It'll continue to grow as the exhibitor populations begin to expect to have access to a B2B marketplace as part of shows. Over time, the buyers will expect the shows to have a B2B marketplace. It's a reasonable expectation, and the shows have their very niche audience if the organizers have done a good job. It's like hyper distilled audience for the exhibitors or the brands that maybe they can't find with just having their Shopify store. These are your prime premium buyers for whom we're going to deliver an on-site and an online experience 365. As long as we can keep feeding that experience in a meaningful way, not just a newsletter dump, they'll keep coming back to these online platforms associated with shows. So I think adoption is ratcheting up for the marketplaces associated with shows. But it's definitely the way forward. What we would be trying to do, especially with the advent of the complementing digital platform, is if the show seasons are spring and autumn, we might ask them, we don't have anything going out in June. Do you want to take a punt on launching a collection off-season where he's actually not competing for airtime with all the other exhibitors at the show? Because actually, there is no longer a season if the buyers aren't all attending shows, right? We would be hoping that Jonathan not only launches a new collection at the next edition of the show, but might actually launch a new collection online only between editions of the show.